authors, filmmakers, entertainment, and all your listening needs. Listen now to Talk Now Radio, where no topic is taboo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Now Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man. And joining me today is going to be Alejandro Dominguez, a.k.a. the Dead Explorer. And this gentleman travels the world in search of ghosts. And he puts a lot of videos up on YouTube. He's running his own Kickstarter series. He's going to tell us a little something more about that. Now, I think he had somebody who was going to join him on that wasn't able to make it or something. He said something to me about it in Skype earlier. I'll let him explain that to you because I'm probably messing it up, to be honest with you. But if you want to learn more about him, his website is www.deadexplorer.com. And would y'all excuse me for just one quick moment? I apologize for that, folks. At any rate, what I was going to say, for those of you that are listening at YouTube or iTunes or somewhere else, we got some people showing up in chat now. Would love to have more. The more the merrier, the more fun we can have. Want to invite everybody to come over to www.talknowradio.com, get a free membership, and join in and talk with everybody else who's already there now. We'd be happy to have you. If y'all want to call in and ask questions, the number is 832-632-7904, or if you're in the chat, you can just ask that way. Skype users, y'all could PM Mr. Paranormal, and y'all can ask me questions on Skype. So, Alejandro, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, Royce. I'm really excited to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to thank you for coming, and I want to thank you for getting a hold of me and let me know you had something to share with my listeners. I always like to keep my listeners informed of the latest news that's going on out in the paranormal community. Now, I think you were telling me when you first got a hold of me about some new Kickstarter thing you had going on, but you said you wouldn't be able to go into detail on it today. Can you share anything about it at all today?
Oh, yeah, I definitely can. The Kickstarter campaign was something that I started now about 27 days ago, and Kickstarter is basically a way to raise funds for filmmaking or any kind of creative project you want to be involved with. And I've done Dead Explorer, my paranormal web series. It's basically a show where I travel across the United States. I've been to North Carolina, all over Texas, which is my home state, so you're going to see a lot of Texas. But I've also been to Arizona, California, pretty much traveled over 15,000 miles last year trying to capture paranormal activity at some of the most haunted places in the United States. And so the Kickstarter was an effort to raise some funds because it's completely self-financed. And the whole first year, everywhere I went, it's a labor of passion. I love the paranormal. I love filmmaking. But the Kickstarter was a way to maybe see if we can get a little bit further, see a few more people in 2014. And that's something that's going to end in 3 days. I'm not really sure if we're going to meet the goal. It's all or nothing. But even if we don't meet the Kickstarter, you can be for certain that I'm going to be out there still investigating, still putting up stuff up on YouTube.
Now, your show you do, is that broadcast mostly at YouTube, or is that just where you post after your main show? You have another site people can go to catch you live, or how does that work?
With Dead Explorer, the first season, which is about 42 episodes, it was all exclusively on YouTube. And the great thing about YouTube is if anybody likes the video, they can share it. So, the episodes have appeared all over the internet. I keep deadexplorer.com as a home where I do blogging and I put updates on stuff in between the episodes. So that's a cool way to kind of catch the in-between stuff when an episode's not out there. Obviously, Facebook, Dead Explorer on Facebook and Google Plus is also the same, just more updates about stuff between the show. Season 2, I'm really looking forward to doing some full-length episodes. In fact, I'm editing a 50-minute episode right now. On YouTube, my episodes are about 5-6 minutes long. These 50-minute long episodes will probably be on Roku and Amazon on demand, so people can still watch them on their computers, their tablets, their cell phones, or on their TVs.
Well, if you don't mind me getting a quick plug-in for myself there, Alejandro, I have a section that I do my archives in right here on my site where I take my guest picture and my picture and put it into my DVD player, or my DVD maker, or movie maker, I mean, and add our show sound file and turn it into a sort of a video, and I upload it to my section that's like YouTube right here, that it's so much like YouTube that it gives you a link that you can share on your site or embed my shows on your site. And I just didn't know if a lot of people may not be aware of that in case they wanted to share my shows elsewhere. And I've also got a section on it. I've got it turned off right now where people can post their own shows like you could post yours if you wanted to, but I'd have to turn it back on. I just didn't know if there'd be many people wanting to, actually add theirs to the deal, and I've been using it for my archive, but I could set aside a category, for my show and let everything else run in other categories, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I'd throw that in there real quick while you were mentioning it, because a lot of people may not be aware of that. And it could, some people I know would love to be able to share shows on their site and might want to share their shows, because I know you got a big channel over there. You've been doing that thing for quite some time.
I did, Roy. I have been, Royce, and obviously I'll also follow up what you just said. I discovered you on YouTube, and I think you're a great presence on YouTube. I know that you're always out there talking to different people in the paranormal field, and not just one particular field, but you're basically getting all the different views and perspectives in a lot of different paranormal categories, and I really appreciate your show for that. And I am been working on the YouTube content for a while. The Explorer is, basically it started in about 2011, with just paranormal videos, or paranormal investigation videos, no night vision cameras, just basically, trying to see what I could capture with my eyes and ears, and, just having a camera in case there's something that the camera can catch. And from that, it just grew. Before I did the Explorer, I have always been into the paranormal, but I've also been into filmmaking. And for about 2 years, I was putting up other type of content that's on YouTube as well. So, if you add that all up, there's been probably over 100 videos on YouTube. But the Explorer is basically what I focus on now. It just brings all my passions together, and it's just something that basically, the moment I wake up every day, I think a lot of paranormal people can relate to this. I'm thinking paranormal, so I love it.
So this is more of a work of passion than it is a work of corporation for you.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, who doesn't want to do what they love for a living? And so if one day Dead Explorer was a means to that, for sure I'd be interested. But it's not a cash grab. It's not to try to be famous or a celebrity. I work Monday through Friday. I work for a nonprofit in Austin. And then I add, another 40 hours a week at night and the weekends on Dead Explorer. If it would be the same thing where I could do that Monday through Friday, I'd take it. But it starts with the passion. That's what keeps me going. That's what motivates me to do it every day. Otherwise, you can sustain a show like Dead Explorer by yourself for over a year if you really weren't into it and if you weren't really, passionate about the paranormal.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I've been doing my show for like 7 years now, and I think I'm pretty well qualified to be able to say that it takes a lot. Me and you talked at the very beginning of how we're both one-man shows, and a one-man show means that, in my case, I have to go look for guests to put on my show. I have to check out their material, make sure they're not just some scam running out there, and they've got good content that people would actually want to be knowing about. I have to actually post them to my site, and then I have to go promote them. When I had to contact the person, I had to schedule them. I had to do the actual show. Please pardon me for that, folks. Something scratched my throat suddenly. I didn't mean to do that on the air. At any rate, like I say, there's so many different things involved that you wouldn't be doing it without some kind of passion, or if you weren't getting paid a paycheck for it, or nobody goes to that much trouble without one or the other being a reason or some kind of motivation, in other words.
Right. Yeah, you nailed it, right? Sometimes you hope it can, you can do what you love, and maybe it would be both, but, I think you're right. It's not just, the content. It's all the work that goes into the content, calling places, to go investigate. I've driven multiple occasions over 15 miles just to go, to a place that I really want to investigate outside of Texas. And, you just can't fake a passion for that, I think people can see that. People can see if somebody, they can see if somebody's trying to get a quick buck, or somebody's just trying to become famous. And I think part of what I love about the show is the people who support it, the people who have become my friends over the years, just messaging me, asking questions, going back and forth about the paranormal. That's what I enjoy about the show, that's real, and I don't think that would happen if people were like, oh, this guy is just trying to exploit the paranormal to become famous. And so I love that the show is real, the interaction with the people is real. And to me, that's one of the most rewarding aspects of it all, is that, it's something that's grassroots, grown with other people who are into the same thing that I like. And eventually a lot of them I get to meet. And, I've worked with 9 paranormal groups over the last year who just met me through YouTube, said, hey, if you can find a way, let's make it out to us. And I did it. And these are some of my best friends now too.
Yeah, you travel all over the world, so I take it you'll probably go into Louisiana sometime down the road.
Well, it should be definitely on the agenda. Being in Austin, it's a short drive to I-10 into Louisiana. There's a lot of different things that go into choosing a location. As a one-man show, the producer, the editor, and everything. What really helps me is if I can go to a place where, I have other paranormal friends who, would want to be on the show. That way it's logistically easier to do. And obviously, finding a haunted location that would want us, and obviously Louisiana is very famous on the map for its paranormal activity. So I think all the elements should be there. I should definitely make it happen soon, right?
Well, I was kind of setting you up. I hope you don't mind. It just so happens, if you look in the chat room, and don't turn the player on because we'll get an echo if you do, but you'll see there's a guy in there called Cajun Ghost Hunter. He's been one of my guests recently, and he's going to be on the show again in October. And he travels all over Louisiana, and he gets EVPs, and he investigates all the haunts. And I thought if you were heading that way, you and him would like to hook up.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually looking at some of the messages. I see Mr. Cajun Ghost Hunter, and if he's interested in reaching out to me, the best way might be the facebook.com/The Explorer. You can message me, or maybe after the show you can help me get his info and we can connect.
Oh yeah, you're both on Facebook, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you're both on YouTube, so y'all should be able to have a easy time, connecting. I've got 2 gems in that chat room right now, so I'm going to go call the one of them Genocide. If I type into the deal, I thought I'd let him know, because any other time I put Genocide in there, he'd say, well, I'm James. Let him know why I'm doing it.
Okay.
But yeah, at any rate, I just think I've had, his name's Stanley Jolet, I think is how it's pronounced. He's actually been on my show before. He was a fantastic guest, and I think there's a good chance that you two might really work pretty well together. Do you do EVPs as well?
Yeah, absolutely. When we're out in an investigation, I'm definitely trying to capture any kind of, evidence that I can support, with equipment or what have you. So yeah, I've captured many of the EVPs, during, an investigation, and, some of them make it on the show. Some of them I don't share because, I have a hard time validating if I can't validate an EVP as far as I'm 100% certain it wasn't any of us, then I usually don't share it. So I have many EVPs in my own personal library, and then they're the ones that I feel so confident about that I put out on the show, and some of those have been absolutely awesome.
I know that Cajun Ghost Hunter recently did my wife a favor and tried to get an EVP of her mother, and only information he asked me to give him was her mother's name, and with that, when he got an EVP back on her, the EVP actually, when asked how many kids she had, replied she had 4 kids, which is exactly what my wife's mother had, was 4 kids.
Wow. That's an excellent capture.
Well, that pretty well impressed. And then it went on to say, mention Rick, which is one of her ex-husbands.
Oh.
So my wife liked to freak.
So like an intelligent response, basically. It sounds like 2 intelligent responses in a row.
Yeah, which that's an automatic eye-opener from what I'm giving you to understand.
Well, it's definitely another layer to the evidence. You know, a lot of times you go out and you capture some audio and you try to share it, and people are going to make up their own minds whether or not they personally believe it's evidence of something paranormal. But a lot of times, if you can have an intelligent response, something that shows a real interaction with an entity, obviously that makes things more credible. But at the end of the day, it's still everybody's personal opinion about whether or not they want to believe. And some people are always gonna, no matter how good the evidence is choose to not to believe. And there's always going to be people out there with open minds who are going to want to. But hey, it's everybody's prerogative. No right. There's no right or wrong in the paranormal.
That is true, but I have heard stories, especially Ed Shanahan once told me that he took a skeptic out there that didn't believe in ghosts at all, that wanted to go out there and just prove to him that he was wrong, they didn't exist, and just pick apart everything that he did during the investigation. And he said that one of the ghosts or something had evidently touched him, and this guy like flew out of his skin and took off running.
Yeah, there's nothing that will turn a skeptic into a believer faster than taking them out on an investigation and having, some good activity happen. In some cases, it's also a little hit or miss because, with all the investigations I've done, I've been to places like the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone, Arizona. It's been on all the TV shows. It's really famous in the paranormal community as one of the most haunted places in the United States. And on that particular night, I captured nothing, not a single thing. So it's always funny. You go out, but yeah, like I started off more skeptical myself. Not that I didn't love the paranormal, and not that I didn't have curiosity about, cryptids and ghosts and aliens and things like that. I've always been very curious, but I wondered, how real would the paranormal part of things be? And so I tried to start off skeptical, not so much because I didn't want to believe, but kind of so I could be very neutral. And if anything came to me, I wouldn't, jump the gun. I wanted to just kind of take it slowly. But surely over time, just things keep happening. And, I'm definitely now know there's stuff out there that just cannot be explained. There's paranormal stuff that, under normal rules, there's no explanation.
Somebody just informed me in the chat room, James, he was asking me a minute ago if this was the 5 Seasons show, and I told him no, that was last Wednesday. He said I quit putting dates on my show. So I'm apologizing to him in chat, but I'm thinking I need to apologize in case somebody listening at YouTube or somewhere else hears this show. They've had the same problem. If that is the case, I want to apologize to everybody that might have wondered when I was going to have a show, didn't know because I didn't put a date on it. I'll try to be more careful. I've had a bad habit of when I'm posting shows, getting ahead of myself and meaning to post it by the time you get ahead, you think you already posted it and you didn't post it, if that makes any kind of sense.
Sure.
I got one of those hyperactive minds, and it thinks ahead of what I'm doing, in other words.
It helps get things done sometimes still, huh?
Yeah, it does, but it also causes me to think I did things I didn't do. So, if anybody's out there, if y'all ever catch one that don't have a date, feel free to email me, admin@talknowradio.com, and ask the date, or come ask in the chat room, post it to my forum, put it in my shout box, anywhere you can. I'll be more than happy to get a hold of you and give you all the date and go back behind myself and post everywhere the date, because I sure never intentionally leave a date off. So coming back to what we were talking about, I'm sure that a man that has been around the world like you have got to have had probably more ghostly stories to tell than most of the hunters that are just local. I mean, because you get to so many different places. Give somebody a really, really, really scary one you might have been to.
Okay, and I appreciate the kind words. I have seen a lot of stuff. I don't know if it's any better than anybody else. I definitely think there's a lot of good people out there in their communities doing some great paranormal investigation work. I think more often than not, this field is full of really talented people. But to share with you one of my favorite incidents, last March I was down in the Texas border along the Rio Grande Valley between Texas and Mexico, and there was an old World War II fort there, Fort Ringgold. And this is when after World War II, basically it became a hospital, and after it became a hospital, it became the school, the elementary school, the junior high, and the high school of the town. So it has this enormous history. And what used to be the hospital, that's where they would take tuberculosis patients after, when that was kind of sweeping that area of the United States. And more often than not, that's a disease they could not treat. So a lot of people passed away from tuberculosis. So, in fact, so many bodies, basically, they just built a custom crematorium, and they would just take the bodies down there and set them on fire. But, that's one of the locations where I've had one of the most amazing experiences as a paranormal investigator, because in that same crematorium, trying to reach out to anybody who might still be there, I lit a candle. I did some of the stuff that you normally do as a paranormal investigator to get an intelligent response. You ask for a couple of knocks. You ask for them to kind of repeat some activity you did to see if maybe there's something intelligent in there with you. And just when I thought, after 30 minutes, nothing was going on, I tried to leave. And one of the last things I did in that session was I threw a little piece of metal into the corner of the room. There's a lot of junk in there now. When it became a school, they just started using the crematorium for storage. I threw a little item. It seemed to shatter some glass. I thought, nothing's happened, I'm leaving. And as we're going out, you hear glass shatter again. And this is a good 5 minutes after I broke the glass. And I thought, well, either some glass didn't quite finish breaking for me, or something's going on in there trying to get our attention. So we went back in there. I wanted to know if anybody had broken that glass, because I had asked them to basically throw that object earlier. Got no response. I had a candle that I had lit, because I thought maybe that element of fire, and this is, the last thing these bodies experienced on Earth was a flame. If that would get a response, I asked them if they wanted me to light the candle again, and that's when we had a disembodied voice say no. And when I mean disembodied voice, that's basically a voice from somebody with no body. A voice came out of, the air. Yeah, and this is not an EVP. This is not something that, we had to look at a device later on to hear it. This in the white noise. This was loud and clear as day. And there was 3 of us in there, a security guard, somebody using the camera for me on that particular day, and me. And we all heard it. And you can see in the video, all of us respond instantly to the fact that we just heard a voice clear and loudly say no. And the exciting part was that on the audio and on the video, 2 different devices, the no was captured as well. The only difference being that the no was captured as a whisper. So, and that's what I've heard before with disembodied voices. This was the first time I experienced one that loud, that you can hear it loud, clearly, like a 4th voice in the room. And then if you capture an audio, it sounds like a whisper, which is a very interesting phenomenon on its own. But there's not going to be anyone that will be able to convince me that I didn't hear a disembodied voice talk to me that day, because there's multiple witnesses. We heard it, we captured it, and by my own personal barometer. It was something real and paranormal.
Sounds like it was something real and paranormal. Sounds like a lot of newcomers to the field might have gotten scared too on something like that. Now, have you ever been to San Antonio?
Oh, sure. There's been a few investigations I've done in the San Antonio area. It's only about an hour away.
Okay, now we got a question in the chat room. What's the difference between a disembodied voice and an EVP?
Sure, that's an excellent question. A disembodied voice is basically a voice that you hear in real time with your ears. No equipment's necessary to hear it. So it's like somebody invincible is basically talking to you. And you can record it, that disembodied voice, because it's there. You're able to capture on the camera. You're able to capture on a recorder. Now, an EVP, that's an electronic voice phenomenon. That's when you don't hear it with your ears. You only hear it after the fact. So you go back, you're reviewing what you were recording with your video camera, you're recording what you were doing with your audio recorder, and there's a voice that wasn't there at the time, you were doing your investigation. There's a variety of EVPs. Some are, you hear the recorder and they're very clear. They're even as loud as everybody else talking in the room at the time. That's why we call it Class A EVP. I captured one of those on the USS Hornet in Alameda, California. We captured a little girl talking a full sentence, loud, clearly, like somebody else in the room. And sometimes the EVPs are whispers. In fact, so silent that you kind of have to really decide if it's just background noise that your recorder caught or a voice that you can just barely hear. Electronic EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. And that's probably one of the most common pieces of evidence people catch.
Now, what I was fixing to ask before that question came in was, have you ever investigated the Alamo? I've heard tell that place is haunted.
I've been to the Alamo on multiple occasions, and this is one of the biggest, I guess, I won't call it frustrations, but most common situations an investigator will come across. The more famous the location, the harder it is to get to investigate it under the conditions you'd want them in. So a place like the Alamo, that would be, it'd be a major accomplishment to try to convince them to let you investigate. So sometimes as an investigator, you have to go during, public hours just to get inside the location. But then you'd be dealing with a lot of contamination of the evidence. A place with the Alamo, whenever I've been there, there's a line around the block just to go in, and you stay in that line basically through the whole building. And with all that chatter, all those people talking, it'd be impossible to capture any kind of evidence. So the more famous the place, the harder it is to investigate. Sometimes they just think that, they just don't want to open their doors to that type of stuff, or, to let people investigate after hours. Or if they do, it's a very high, amount of money to be able to do that. A place like the Alamo would be very expensive to get to yourself after hours. Or if a place is haunted but it's been on TV, then sometimes the owners go for a cash grab, and they charge something from like $600, $700 to $2,000 to investigate because they've been on TV. So usually I skip those. What I've done in San Antonio has been, kind of like places, small business owners, residential cases, where they open the doors and they're really more interested in knowing if anybody else can validate their paranormal experiences or capture their paranormal experiences than trying to make some money off of you trying to do an investigation.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that, even in residential homes, they end up being huge famous cases, whether they meant to or not. I mean, look at the one that ended up becoming the movie The Conjuring.
Right, and the thing is, the paranormal community is pretty connected through social media these days, and even some of the aspects of that case was well known before the Conjuring movie even happened, and to the point where people are now arguing about, how accurate the movie was based on their secondhand knowledge before the movie even existed. So, for some residential cases, sure, the Amityville horror, I mean, that's even going back further back, to that haunting and on YouTube, my episodes are about 5-6 minutes long. These 15-minute long episodes will probably be on Roku and Amazon on demand, so people can still watch them on their computers, their tablets, their cell phones, or on their TVs.
Well, if you don't mind me getting a quick plug-in for myself there, Alejandro, I have a section that I do my archives in right here on my site where I take my guest picture and my picture and put it into my DVD player, or my DVD maker, or movie maker, and add our show sound file and turn it into a sort of a video, and I upload it to my section that's like YouTube right here, that it's so much like YouTube that it gives you a link that you can share on your site or embed my shows on your site. And I just didn't know if a lot of people may not be aware of that in case they wanted to share my shows elsewhere. And I've also got a section on it. I've got it turned off right now where people can post their own shows, like you could post yours if you wanted to, but I'd have to turn it back on. I just didn't know if there'd be many people wanting to, actually add theirs to the...
For authors, filmmakers, entertainment, and all your listening needs. Listen now to Talk Now Radio, where no topic is taboo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Now Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man. And joining me today is going to be Alejandro Dominguez, a.k.a. the Dead Explorer. And this gentleman travels the world in search of ghosts. And he puts a lot of videos up on YouTube. He's running his own Kickstarter series. He's going to tell us a little something more about that. Now, I think he had somebody who was going to join him on that wasn't able to make it or something. He said something to me about it in Skype earlier. I'll let him explain that to you because I'm probably messing it up, to be honest with you. But if you want to learn more about him, his website is www.deadexplorer.com. And would y'all excuse me for just one quick moment? I apologize for that, folks. At any rate, what I was going to say, for those of you that are listening at YouTube or iTunes or somewhere else, we got some people showing up in chat now. Would love to have more. The more the merrier, the more fun we can have. Want to invite everybody to come over to www.talknowradio.com, get a free membership, and join in and talk with everybody else who's already there now. We'd be happy to have you. If y'all want to call in and ask questions, the number is 832-632-7904. Or if you're in the chat, you can just ask that way. Skype users, y'all could PM Mr. Paranormal, and y'all can ask me questions on Skype. So, Alejandro, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, Royce. I'm really excited to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to thank you for coming, and I want to thank you for getting a hold of me and let me know you had something to share with my listeners. I always like to keep my listeners informed of the latest news that's going on out in the paranormal community. Now, I think you were telling me
that's going to end in 3 days. I'm not really sure if we're going to meet the goal. It's all or nothing. But even if we don't meet the Kickstarter, you can be for certain that I'm going to be out there still investigating, still putting up stuff up on YouTube.
Now, your show you do, is that broadcast mostly at YouTube, or is that just where you post after your main show? You have another site people can go to catch you live, or how does that work?
With Dead Explorer, the first season, which is about 42 episodes, it was all exclusively on YouTube. And the great thing about YouTube is if anybody likes the video, they can share it. So, the episodes have appeared all over the internet. I keep deadexplorer.com as a home where I do blogging and I put updates on stuff in between the episodes. So that's a cool way to kind of catch the in-between stuff when an episode's not out there. Obviously, Facebook, Dead Explorer on Facebook and Google Plus is also the same, just more updates about stuff between the show. Season 2, I'm really looking forward to doing some full-length episodes. In fact, I'm editing a 50-minute episode right now.
When you first got a hold of me about some new Kickstarter thing you had going on, but you said you wouldn't be able to go into detail on it today. Can you share anything about it at all today?
Oh, yeah, I definitely can. The Kickstarter campaign was something that I started now about 27 days ago, and Kickstarter is basically a way to raise funds for filmmaking or any kind of creative project you want to be involved with. And I've done Dead Explorer, my paranormal web series. It's basically a show where I travel across the United States. I've been to North Carolina, all over Texas, which is my home state, so you're going to see a lot of Texas. But I've also been to Arizona, California, pretty much traveled over 15,000 miles last year trying to capture paranormal activity at some of the most haunted places in the United States. And so the Kickstarter was an effort to raise some funds because it's completely self-financed. And the whole first year, everywhere I went, it's a labor of passion. I love the paranormal. I love filmmaking. But the Kickstarter was a way to maybe see if we can get a little bit further, see a few more people in 2014. And that's something